Hey everybody, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Do me a favor before we get started. I need you to hit that like button if you're not a subscriber. I need you to hit that subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you will not miss an episode. So, how are you? All right, so today we're going to talk about assets that you only need two out of the three assets to build serious wealth. So, when it comes to wealth building, it seems complicated, and that's because we aren't exposed to it. So, wealth is not only for people who inherited money, and is not only for people that were born into a rich family. So, there were studies done on who are actually first generation millionaires. And according to the study, 80% of millionaires are first generation, meaning that they are self made, whereas 20% have it inherited. So, as far as assets goes, so you have the three main asset classes, but there are a lot more assets than the ones that I'm going to mention. But so the three main ones are the stock market, real estate, and business, as you know, and you only need two of the three, right? However, it's a good idea just to have your hands on all of them, and that's just for safety purposes. So if this crashes, you got that. If that crashes, you got that, you know? But say, for instance, there's one asset class that you don't particularly like, right? For instance, everybody doesn't want to start a business or buy a business. And then you have different people, maybe real estate is not for you. Like you don't like real estate, for example. And then stock market, maybe you are not interested in the stock market because you don't trust it. So people have various varying reasons on what they're interested in and what they're not interested in, but it's important to have at least two out of the three asset classes: stock market, real estate, and business. And then if you are just interested in extra security, the more diversification, the better. So jumping into all three of them. All right. So let's talk briefly about where wealth comes from. Where wealth comes from. So, the majority of us are taught that you go to school and go get a job. That's what you do. Go to school and get a job. So, the question is, how do you have enough money? And the general answer is go to school. Well, that may be partially correct. Like if you're coming from poverty, then going to school will take you from poverty to the middle class. But if you're interested in wealth, let's talk about how people become wealthy. All right, so generally, wealth is created through one of these levers: entrepreneurship, real estate, investing, high income careers. And so I'm going to break it down according to statistics. All right. So 65 to 70% of people, according to statistics, get their wealth from entrepreneurship. 65 to 70%. So solving a problem that people are willing to pay for. And so I'm going to give you some examples. Restaurants, consulting, tech startups, e-commerce, apps. So these are just some examples of entrepreneurship. As you know, there are plenty of other examples out here. But according to the statistics, 65 to 70% of people get their wealth through entrepreneurship, starting a business. All right, 25 to 30% is real estate. Now, you may have heard a different statistics, and I heard the other statistic also, that 90% of millionaires are created through real estate. I've heard that also. So according to my reading, it's 25 to 30% through real estate. So leverage will allow you to scale faster as opposed to saving. So if you wait to save, you may be waiting forever. So generally people that scale, they're not using their savings. They're using leverage. In other words, they're borrowing the money. All right. And then combining that with some form of entrepreneurship. So 25 to 30% real estate combined with some form of entrepreneurship. Number 3, 15 to 20% are high income earners, and they are investing for 15 to 25 years, right? You could shorten that if you put in more money. So the more money you put in, the years decrease. So you put in more money, you could do it in 10 years. And you probably can do it in shorter amount of time than that if you put in an outrageous amount of money. But according to statistics, 15 to 20% are getting their wealth through high income careers, and they are investing for 15 to 25 years. Number 4, stock market. 20 to 25% are creating wealth through the stock market. And then lastly, there are the side hustles. So combining side hustles alongside a main job. Let's give you some examples of the side hustles. Freelancing, content creation, e-commerce, consulting. So just to recap on how people are building wealth, 65 to 70% through entrepreneurship, having some kind of business. 25 to 30% through real estate. 15 to 20% through high income careers and putting that money into the stock market. 20 to 25% stock market. And then you have others that are doing side hustles, freelancing, content creation, e-commerce, consulting. All right. So you don't have to have all of the asset classes, but keeping in mind that buying assets is what is creating wealth. And that is the missing piece for a lot of people, is that there is not this focus on getting assets. So assets are what is creating the wealth. That is some kind of business. It is real estate, investing in the stock market, and then side hustles. All right. So you don't have to do all three, but if you are really interested in being safe, then you would do all three. But all three are not necessary in case there's something that you just don't like about one of the asset classes. So just doing 2 out of the 3 is going to build serious wealth if you remain persistent for years. So it's not overnight, but there's this persistence that happens even when it looks like nothing is happening, and just staying persistent for years, year in, year out, year in, year out. All right. So thank you for watching the channel. If you're interested in improving your finances, check out the free newsletter below. It is free. And then tune in for the interviews. I will be bringing people onto the show. I interview real estate investors. I interview people that have different types of businesses. If you like the channel, don't forget to hit the like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button if you are not a subscriber. If you know anyone else that is interested in improving their finances, then let them know about the channel. Share the channel. All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I will see you on the next video.